Okay, this is an update of the Old Bowl pool. As of game bowl game 17, it's currently halftime of the Alamo Bowl between Texas and Oregon State. Oregon State's leading 20 to 10. We'll see how that turns out. I'm going to go through each of the questions and give the correct answer, and also the winners of the bowls. And then I'm going to give an update on the total standings. On your sheet, the first one is the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. The winner there was Utah State. And the first touchdown was scored also by Utah State. I incorrectly put that was the first bowl of the season. The first bowl that was played was actually the New Mexico Bowl, but that question is just interpreted as which team will score the first touchdown in the game. For the New Mexico Bowl, the winner was Arizona. It was a very thrilling game. If you missed it, they managed to score 2 touchdowns in the final 2 minutes to win it. Got an onside kick. It was pretty thrilling. Arizona won that one. Will special teams, not counting field goals and extra points, score any points in this bowl? Answer was no, they did not. And there was also no safety. Next game was played 5 days later, the Poinsettia Bowl out in San Diego. BYU won that game. The question was, Poinsettia is red. Will one coach be seeing red because his team turned the ball over at least 3 times? Answer is yes. If I'm not mistaken, that was San Diego State that turned the ball over 3 times. Which team's defense will record the most sacks? That was BYU. The next bowl was played Friday evening between Central Florida and Ball State. That's where my friend Daniel went to school. So I called him the Fightin' Finellis on the list. And David Letterman went to Ball State, so called that team the Fightin' David Lettermans. Anyway, Central Florida won that game running away. Their quarterback had a pretty phenomenal night, but it was not the highest scoring bowl up to this point. So the answer to that question is no. Next bowl was on Saturday. That was well, actually there were several that next Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. I believe the first one was between Louisiana Lafayette and East Carolina. Will East Carolina score 31 or more points in the game? The answer is yes. Lafayette won that game, however. And since this is the first bowl that's been played in New Orleans, we don't know if the point total will exceed that. We'll only figure that out after the Sugar Bowl. The Las Vegas Bowl took place that same day. Boise State won that game. However, University of Washington actually generated the most offensive yards, and they were through the air. Then Christmas Eve, we had the Hawaii Bowl between SMU and Fresno. Southern Methodist won that game with some incredible defensive end play. And was there 5 or more turnovers? Yes. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, SMU set the tied the NCAA single season record for most interceptions for touchdown in this game by recording 2 more. Then after Christmas, we had the Little Caesars Bowl, Central Michigan and Western Kentucky. Central Michigan won that game. There was not a pick six in the game, and the third quarter did not yield 21 or more combined points. And then the 27th, I'm just going to go through them in the order that they're on the list. The Belk Bowl between Cincinnati and Duke, although Duke led that one through most of the game, Cincinnati came back in the end and won. And there were 2 players that rushed for more than 100 yards. Each team had one that did. So the answer to that one is yes. In the Holiday Bowl, which was a rather pretty surprising outcome in my opinion, but Baylor really took it to UCLA and ran away with that. This is the Holiday Bowl. Will one team's rushing attack take a holiday and fail to generate at least 110 yards? The answer is yes. UCLA had far below 100 yards rushing. And in the question of will there be more combined rushing or passing touchdowns, no one's going to get it right because they were equal. It was 5 rushing and 5 passing. So the house wins that one. Let's find it. All right. And next we've got the Military Bowl that was between San Jose State And Bowling Green, San Jose State won that by just 9 points. So the answer to the question there is yes. Will it be less than 11 points? Yes. Will Bowling Green score in the fourth quarter? They did. So the answer to that one is yes. In the Independence Bowl between Ohio and Louisiana Monroe, Ohio won that one running away. Didn't have any trouble with Louisiana Monroe. Louisiana Monroe was making their first bowl appearance as a program. Monroe punted the ball more times. That's the answer to that one. And then in the Meineke Car Care Bowl between Texas Tech and Minnesota, very close game. Texas Tech had a lot of 15-yard penalties. They had a player ejected for throwing punches. Minnesota played really hard-nosed and ran the ball well, and played pretty good defense considering Texas Tech's offense. But they threw a pick late, and Texas Tech was able to kick a game-winning field goal. So Texas Tech wins that one. Which team will record more first downs? Believe it or not, the two teams both recorded 23. So it's no one's going to win on that one. That one goes to the house. In the Russell Athletic Bowl, Virginia Tech won in overtime. Now there's been some question about that question, which is, will a team kick a field goal with less than 2 minutes to play? Virginia Tech kicked a field goal in overtime. We're going to consider that question still. I haven't scored it yet. It's just open, and we'll decide how that will be most fairly interpreted. In the Armed Forces Bowl, the next one on there is Texas-Oregon State, but it's only halftime, so we'll see how that one turns out. In the Armed Forces Bowl, Rice won, and will one team exceed 100 penalty yards? The answer is no, neither team did. The Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl is next on the list. That's going to be played a little later tonight, so we'll find that out later. In the Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl, Arizona State put a really terrible beating on the Navy. Will there be at least one offensive pass or run that advances the ball 80 or more yards? The answer there was no. And then in the Pinstripe Bowl, played in pretty terrible weather up in New York at the Yankee Stadium. Syracuse handled West Virginia and ran away with that game pretty well. After a time, 2 safeties in that game, not something that occurs very often. Which team's kicker will kick the longest field goal? It was Syracuse. West Virginia, if I'm not mistaken, didn't even attempt a field goal and certainly didn't actually kick one. And West Virginia, will their offense exceed 650 yards? The answer there was no. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but it was well below their normal season average. And I think a lot of that was due to the sloppy field conditions. All right, now here's the overall place list here. In the number of games picked, the overall leader right now with 12 out of 17 is L-Dub out in Oklahoma. And then that's followed by Tommy, the Whale, Frazier, who has got 11 correct. And then we've got a couple of people with 10. We've got Michael Egan has picked 10. Scott Brandt has picked 10. Dan Finelli has picked 10. And David Carr has picked 10 correct. So they would be tied for third place at the moment. With 9 picks, we've got Aaron Rodgers in Oxford. And also, with 8 picks, we've got Les Hill and Julianne. That's 8 correct. And then with 7 is Brian, Bobo, me. I've got 7 correct. And then with 6 picks is Ron Campbell. Now for the questions, we've got 2 people tied for first place. That would be Aaron Rodgers in Oxford and myself. The 2 of us have gotten 15 of the questions correct. With 14 questions correct, that's Michael Egan. And then 2 people have 13 correct. That's L-Dub and Tommy Frazier. And I'm sorry, 3 people. That's also Scott Brandt has 13 correct. And then for 12 correct, that's David Carr. And then we've got 3 people with 11. That's Dan Finelli, Ron Campbell, and Bobo. You've got 11 correct. And then with 10, that's Julianne. So those are the standings. I'm sure that there will be, I'll update after this bowl between Texas and Oregon concludes, and then I probably won't update after that bowl. I'll actually wait until tonight's late bowl is concluded between Texas Christian and Michigan State. So 2 more bowls today, bowls number 18 and number 19, and I'm sure that with the standings being so close, you know, that number of games can determine the place of where individuals are at currently. So we could see some shakeup just over the next few hours. Anyway, good luck, and I will drop my phone and also continue to update more regularly now that we're really getting into the heart of the season. But good luck, and I will talk to you all about bowls soon.